Julia, welcome back. That was a lot of fun doing that Facebook Live video. I don't do those very often, and doing that one with you was great. We saw a lot of familiar faces pop up. So thanks for doing that and for coming back in here.
You bet. I mean, it's great to finally be back together, working together, and looking to do some great things going forward. And seeing all those faces, wow, did that bring back a lot of fun times and memories and people that we were able to help grow businesses. It was super fun. It was my very first Facebook Live, by the way.
Yeah. And as you say that, as you talk about growth and thinking back to those memories, when I first got to meet George, Anton, learn about the banker's code and then private lending, that was new to me. I didn't have any intention of getting into private lending. I had done a loan before with my IRA, and I knew how to be a borrower at that point, but I didn't know how to be a lender. And needless to say, me along with several other people, all that money went away. And so I really never had the intention to be in private lending. But upon being a part of that training and then coaching other people in that, learning that when you do it the right way, it can be something that makes money and doesn't lose money if you do it the right way. It was eye-opening, and it was a new path for us, for Gail and I. I know
well, that's part of what I think is so just really uniquely great, is that you and Gail have been able to do this over the years together. And so you have a trusted partner, right? And y'all are learning and growing together. So talk to me, Ray, about how you and Gail built this from training with Impact Wealth all the way forward. Is what did you learn? How did you build it? How did you make it a business?
Yeah, it was so even as one of the coaches in the private lending training, it was a little hard to get started. I had some funds of my own. I already had some money partners available, but still, getting used to the paperwork with the private lending was a little bit different. How to talk to a borrower and let them know what we do, right? I knew a lot of the safety things for the private lending process, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And so I don't know. I wanted it to be, successful. And it really just took pushing through some uncomfortableness to get that first deal done. Mm-hmm. And then that leads to the second and the third. And, it can be difficult to work with a spouse because there's responsibilities there, and somebody's got to be the boss. And so she and I had worked together in hands-on rehabbing and rental properties and things like that. And there were times that I didn't do well at that. I wasn't a good boss then. I've got a book now on how to be a good boss. I wasn't always the best at that.
Well, and y'all just really kind of established, what were your unique skill sets to give to the business, and pretty much work those skill sets. And I still remember Willie telling us back when we were doing real estate as a family, is like, you guys have just got to stop stepping in each other's shoes.
Yeah.
Figure out which shoes are yours and walk that walk and own that walk. And I feel like that's what you and Gail did. You were like, was my strength. This was my strength. And y'all owned it together and then homogenized it into one business strategy.
That brings up a really good point, and something I definitely wanted to cover on this first part of the video here. My background, my last W-2 job was, the title was process engineer. So looking at processes, developing processes, that was my work. Well, thankfully, I had that background. So when we came into private lending, one of the first things I wanted to do was set up a process and a checklist for the different things. Back then, we weren't using any lending software, right? So it was Word documents, it was Excel spreadsheets. And so we documented all of like the safety steps, get the title work going, get property insurance in place, and all the things back then we were, there were different kind of inspections we were doing and everything. It's more streamlined now. We have some really good service providers that help, but back then those checklists are what helped us to make sure that we didn't forget any important steps, right? And then we developed our paperwork set along the way. As you know, in the kind of lending that we do, we don't lend on any owner occupied. So there's the affidavit that they're not going to occupy the house, the business purpose form that they sign, things like that all kind of came together in those first few years when we had to say, how are we going to do these multiple loans and keep everything up to date, right? Make sure that we have the right thing in the files. I'm a stickler for that. I want to have everything in the file that should be in the file. We learned along the way, how to do soft credit pulls so that we can find what we need there. Back then, we had just a fillable PDF that served as kind of our loan application. We wanted to know things like, what's the person's, experience? Are they competent? Do they have cash to do the deals? Do they have the experience that they need? So it's interesting talking about that, what we started with, because it's so different now, and that'll come up in one of the later videos. But just getting the customers in place, and like you said, she and I learning our roles, and then getting those first set of checklists and systems in place, that was huge.
Yeah, one of the things I've heard over and over for successful businesses, the things that you need to have in place are the right people, the right processes, and then apply the technology to that. If you don't know what your process and who fits your model, then you're likely to have a lower success rate, because you're kind of all over the place, right? You don't know what you're trying to do. So to me, that's the place to start, right? It's getting all those processes, those checklists, so important. And I know just in the short time that you and I have been working together this past month is it saves a lot of headaches for that borrower when you put those check marks in place and you don't deviate from them, right? You keep them from making mistakes and having the pitfalls in their own business. So I love that we're able to help them in that way be more successful in their business as well, besides lending them money.
Right. And that's something that back in those early days, I didn't realize. I didn't realize exactly what we were bringing to the table and how it was maybe different than some of the national lending companies out there. But along the way, we began to see that the processes that we had in place to keep ourselves safe helped the borrowers to stay safe. I realized in my language with them to make sure they realized it wasn't them on one side of the table and us on the other side, and we're kind of going against each other trying to get this deal done, that we're actually both on the same side working together to get a successful project completed so they could do another. That was one of the early breakthroughs in one of our core values of helping the borrowers. But back in the day, we didn't have that many, Julia. We just had a couple.
A handful. That's right.
It was right. It was a little nerve-wracking if we only had a couple of people that were borrowing, because if you come into a month and no one has a deal, then where are you going to fund? Where are you going to get the money placed again? So I remember many years ago, it was after an event in San Francisco, and I was having breakfast with Coach Willie, and we were just chatting about some things, and I told him, here we are, we've got the lending business up and running, and we're doing successful deals, but I said there's this fear in the back of my mind that we're one of those borrowers might not need us anymore. Maybe they've done all the deals they want to do. Maybe they find another lender. I don't know. What if they don't come back? And he's always full of wisdom. And so he said, well, are you willing to live with that? Are you willing to do some more marketing and get more borrowers and not just depend on one or two? And that was kind of a aha moment. I didn't decide right then because, frankly, we weren't sure if we wanted to grow the thing or not. Kind of a big decision.
It is a big decision to make. And at the end of the day, it's like one of the ahas for me is that not only is, going out and raising capital a relationship business, but finding the right borrowers is a relationship business. And so everywhere you go, it's a relationship building opportunity to get those right people.
100%. I know that when we did our first few loans, Gail and I still lived in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Well, during that time period, we moved back to Alabama where we live now. And I started going to the local real estate investor groups here. And just in my naivety, I thought, going into these clubs and saying I'm a lender, I thought people would just line up. And, it's that relationship side. So even borrowing money from you, they need to have trust and familiarity.
Exactly.
And I was just kind of thinking, okay, they're going to see there's a private lender here, and everyone's going to want to do business. But it took some time to develop those relationships. And now, 10 years later, we have a lot of referral business, and we have a great reputation with the title companies and with our borrowers for closing on time. And definitely,
but it's all about a decision, isn't it? I mean, you talk about what Willie said, right? 10 years ago, it was hard for you because you talked about the fear in the back of your mind, of seeing 10 years forward and that you would be right here, right? But it's making that decision to go do the right things to put a business in play and make it happen. I think it's kind of scary, but once you do it, then again, if I'm looking at your top takeaways from this, it's you got to make the decision to grow a business. You got to make sure you have the right people on your team to grow the business, and you got to have those processes in place to make sure that you are following the guidelines of your best practices of your business, right?
Yep, that's right. And we were given a pretty good list of do's and don'ts in the Bankers Code training that was my foundation. And all those things are excellent if people will stick to them. But we found even more things along the way. We've done hundreds of loans now, and by the grace of God, we have not ever had to foreclose. It's if you stay in the business long enough, it's going to come one day. But so far, but we've learned so many other things along the way around doing the draws and the servicing aspect. They're just a lot of things that take the safety to the next level, and that safety is so important to us. But as we kind of come full circle here, to not make this first video too long, I would just want to encourage people. I know for some people watching, maybe it's been a few years since they saw and the private lending training, and since they went through that. But if it was of interest then, it may still be of interest now. And I just would want to encourage that it's still a great business model. We're still doing it, 11, we're in 2023 now, 12 years later this year, and it's grown. And again, hundreds of loans and thankfully no foreclosures. So it proves out, I know there were some stories along the way of people that got in some unsuccessful deals, but by and large, I talked to a lot of those people. And a lot of them that I heard, they were breaking the rules. They weren't really engaged with it. They were doing large seconds behind gigantic first mortgages. And they were, it's like, here's the rules, but we want to do this and try to make more money faster. And it's better to make good money slowly than try to get big money quick. And that's, it's kind of what we've established here. So, the checklist and things that I've mentioned, if we can offer, that to people, if they would find it helpful, we're making this little series of videos here to help people who have an interest in private lending and maybe they're not sure about, they know about it, they're not sure how we've had quite a journey at this. You know, we're at the $1 million a month now loan stage, and looking to grow that by 50% this year. So we got a lot to share. It's been an interesting journey, and so I look forward to the next upcoming videos to share some more. But definitely, you know, the checklist that we had to begin with, I'd be glad to share those with people.
Yeah, so reach out to us if you'd like to have that checklist. We'd be happy to send that over to you. Are you going to put that here, or how would they get in touch with us for us to send it to them, Ray?
Yeah, you know, we'll find a way to post it, but also info@ REI Funding Partners, and we'll make sure that's showing up on the screen. But that's the quickest way to email. But also underneath here, there's going to be a place to sign up for the upcoming 3 videos that kind of finish out the story. So anyone on that list that requests, we're going to have things to share along the way. You know, it's been, like I said, an interesting journey. We want to share things with people. So we'll make it.
And one last thought from me is I've been reading a lot lately around what the market's doing and whatnot. It's kind of like deja vu, right? We're back. This private lending world is coming back with what's going on in the out there in the economy right now. So what better time to dust off that learning that you had previously or are looking to have now and dive into 2023.
I agree. Well, thanks. This one has been great. I look forward to the upcoming 3 videos, and to everyone out there, we look forward to engaging with you guys, seeing what's been going on, and if there's any questions that we can answer along the way.
All righty. Bye, y'all.
Until next time, take care. God bless.